This is CBS.
Round 1 is over and round 2 is underway in the NFL draft. We'll have a live report.
At the state capitol, round 1 for a Minnesota tax cut is over. Round 2 begins soon in the Senate.
And today marks the 10-year anniversary of the U.S. pullout from Saigon.
And we'll have an update on this latest U.S. space mission, the flight of the Space Shuttle Challenger. Those items and the rest of the day's news next.
I'm not exactly famous for my cooking, so how can I convince you to try new Heinz 57 sauce? I tried it, and now my steaks are better than ever. And recipes with new Heinz 57 sauce out of this world. But you won't know if you don't try. And if you do try, you might like.
Keep cooking like this, you might be famous.
She might be right. Try new Heinz 57 sauce. It's more than a steak sauce, a heck of a lot more.
Michael, it's time for your medicine.
The registered pharmacists at Kmart fill over 20 million prescriptions each year.
It isn't going to taste sticky, is it?
Professionals using brand name pharmaceuticals or generic equivalents were allowed.
Okay, I'm ready.
That's quality you can trust at a Kmart price.
Now, that wasn't so bad, was it?
Not bad for medicine.
You can't do better than Kmart.
Today you'll learn why smart homeowners buy PC glass block windows. First of all, they're mortared together. Kind of pretty, huh? But these windows are tough. Look how thick they are. And because PC glass block windows are hollow, they insulate really good to keep out drafts, rain, noise, and guys like us. That's why I got them for my mom. She's safer with PC glass block windows.
For a free estimate, call 612-227-0415. 612-227-0415.
Serving and informing the Twin Cities for 4 decades. This is WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And now, Bill Carlson, Debbie Ely, Bud Kraehling, and Tony Parker bring you Channel 4's Noon Report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bill has the day off. There's been some wheeling and dealing going on. Today is NFL Draft Day.
And, of course, Debbie, everyone is excited about who the Vikings will get in the way of new talent. But in a surprise today, the Vikings traded away their best pick in the draft. Tony Parker is standing by live at the Metrodome with the latest story. Tony?
You got it, Tony. As expected, things did not go as expected for the Vikings today in that first round of the draft. As you just intimated, the Vikings had the second choice today, and everyone expected they would take offensive tackle Bill Kraehling of Pittsburgh University. However, Kraehling and his agent both indicated strongly they preferred to play elsewhere, partly because of the Vikings' salary structure. And I think as a result of that, the Vikings made a trade with the Atlanta Falcons. They flip-flopped their first-round trades and also received Atlanta's third-round choice in the deal. At any rate, then Atlanta took Kraehling. The third man, of course, was long gone, Ray Childress to Houston. And the Vikings, with their first pick, the fourth man drafted in the first round today, took a linebacker, Chris Dolman. He's 6'4", 240 pounds from Pittsburgh University. They're the first four. Buffalo, of course, had Bruce Smith a long time ago. Bill Kraehling to Atlanta. Houston taking Childress. And the Vikings with Chris Dolman, the linebacker. Now, the Vikings have had their second-round pick, the second man out of the box, Isaac Holt, a surprise, a cornerback from Elkhorn State. He's described as 6'1", nimble and quick. However, the dope sheet also says has a bad knee, so we'll have to see. We'll have some more details later on and talk to defensive back Tommy Hannon about the acquisitions today a little later on, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot, Tony. A Minnesota tax cut measure is now in the Senate's hands. The latest largest tax cut ever passed by the House by a 100-32 vote last night. The House bill provides for a 16.5% cut in personal income taxes, or about $849 million. Sales tax would be trimmed by $350 million. That measure includes a reduction from 6 to 5.5% in July 1986. While the bill cuts most taxes, it could result in property tax hikes in St. Paul, Minneapolis, and many outstate communities. Once the Senate passes its version, a House-Senate Conference Committee will have to reach some tax cut compromise. Debbie?
Another item lawmakers were working on last night was the DFL jobs bill. The bill passed by the Senate creates a job of coordinator to oversee the state's jobs program. Presently, the various programs are scattered in several state departments. The measure now goes to the House. The nation's index of leading economic indicators dropped slightly in March, suggesting that there is no turnaround in sight for our slow-moving economy. The index dropped 0.2%. President Reagan leaves tonight for an economic summit in Bonn, West Germany. The president will still make the controversial visit to the Bittsburg Cemetery where some Nazi SS officers are buried as he observes the 40th anniversary of the end of World War II. Tony?
10 years ago today, South Vietnam fell to the communist north and Americans were scrambling to get out of Saigon. Today, Saigon is known as Ho Chi Minh City, and there were some celebrations in the streets on the anniversary of the Viet Cong victory. The parades included plenty of military displays and talk of the glorious victory, even though Vietnam's economy is in shambles and the country is in a virtual outcast in the international community. But chaos ruled South Vietnam on this date 10 years ago. While Americans left, panicked Vietnamese also looked for an escape from the communists. CBS reporter Ed Bradley was in Saigon on April 30th, 1975, and here's a segment of the report he filed that day.
We all decided to try and reach the United States Embassy, and once there, we found it surrounded by Vietnamese looking for a way in and a way out. We had to push and shove our way through a crowd of several hundred Vietnamese trying to scale the walls, only to be knocked back by U.S. Marines. Once inside the compound, for the Americans and those Vietnamese who managed to get in with legal documents, and the many who managed entrance without, the rest was easy. It was just a matter of waiting your turn for a helicopter to take you to one of the ships on station off the Vietnamese coast. The American fleet had been having problems since the start of the evacuation, not with the arrival of South Vietnamese pilots and their helicopters loaded with family and friends. Hovering above the decks to unload their passengers, the pilots were unfamiliar with landing their craft on a moving ship. One crashed into the side of the USS Blue Ridge. Others managed to crash land on the deck of the ship. For those that did manage to put down, they were simply pushed over the side and into the sea by U.S. sailors and Marines to make room for the returning American craft based on that ship, filled with evacuees from Saigon. Other South Vietnamese pilots just hovered long enough to unload their passengers and then headed to the side of the ships and just jumped out with their life vests to be picked up by U.S. sailors. Many hours later, as one of the last evacuees arrived, U.S. Ambassador Graham Martin, the final American ambassador stationed in South Vietnam. After so many long and bitter years, the American involvement in Vietnam was over.
For superior soybean weed control that costs over $7 per acre less than Lasso or Dual, Sonolan. So flexible you can soil mix it in one tillage pass or two. So weatherproof it works if it rains too much or too little. So effective it controls tough weeds, even helps fight black nightshade clear through harvest. And before the snow's gone, it's gone too. Soybeans and Sonolan, made for each other.
It's a jungle out there. But with the new True Temper Swo, the gardening tool the English swear by, you can tame it easily. Introducing the Swo, now made in America. It saves you work with 3 cutting edges to get weeds at root level with an easy push-pull. It's shaped to reach all around and cultivate, furrow, or hoe in the hardest to get at places. The new True Temper Swo gardening tool. It will shine in your garden, too. Look for specially priced True Temper tools at participating stores.
Hello, baby. Yeah, this is the Big Bopper speaking.
Jimmy, head with hair, long, beautiful hair.
There's a point in your life when the only thing you need to change is your radio station. Welcome to the real world.
The watch to watch is Loris. It's dependable technology with a flair all its own. Loris style. It's right day or night, on the town or on the job. Loris value. It keeps you ahead at a price that won't set you back. Loris forgiving. It's quartz watches and clocks for everyone. just $14.95 to $59.95. Fashionable, dependable Loris. It's everything except expensive.
The astronauts on board the Space Shuttle Challenger are running behind their schedule of experiments because there have been several nagging problems on board the craft, which lifted off yesterday. Sandy Gilmore reports.
Tinny, scratchy sounds of martial music were broadcast from the Space Shuttle Challenger to signal the start of the second 12-hour shift about 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Commander Bob Overmeyer's team retired. The first shift was complicated by what NASA called niggling problems. The science airlock wouldn't budge, preventing astrological filming.
The outer hatch latch handle will not rotate quite far enough.
The water dispenser gave them trouble for a short time.
So far as we know, we did nothing to get it to work. It just all of a sudden started working again.
And they were unable to deploy the Pentagon's small satellite, though a satellite created by college students worked. But this is a science mission, experiments being conducted in near-zero gravity.
That's a very good picture, Don. Thank you.
We aim for please.
This is a microscopic mercuric oxide crystal in an oven, which scientists hope to grow more perfectly in weightlessness.
The shuttle is scheduled to touch down next Monday after a week in space. The FBI says it will be rounding up suspects soon in the second largest robbery in the nation's history. $8 million were lifted from a Wells Fargo depot in New York yesterday. Authorities now say hidden cameras videotaped the heist, which involved 4 men who broke into the depot and its vault. The robbers had to leave behind $12 million because they couldn't carry any more than the $8 million they took.
A pollution control specialist with the Minneapolis Department of Inspection says there will probably be no citations in the propane accidents, which resulted in the evacuation of a 16-block area yesterday. The gas leak started at the intersection of 48th and Russell North when a truck backed into a pipe and broke it at the Gas Supply Incorporated plant. The all clear came about an hour later after the 4,000 gallons of propane had dissipated. But by that time, warnings had gone out as far away as Fridley and Columbia Heights for people to keep their windows closed. Nobody was injured. Of course, yesterday they were very concerned about the winds.
Winds were up 23 miles an hour early afternoon yesterday. Now we just barely have a little breeze from the northeast at 3 miles an hour.
And a lot of clouds.
Say, with the talk of the Viking draft, we've heard of a trade, the Weather Bureau trade with Hawaii, a left-handed forecaster for a partly cloudy right-hander. I don't know if that's going to go through or not. Well, the first Canada goslings hatched out over the weekend. We heard that report, and now Ma and Pa are probably out showing them around the neighborhood right at this very moment. But the sky is cloudy. We'll get some decrease in cloudiness later tonight. We got a chance of some showers and thunderstorms. 72 is our present temperature. Humidity 59%. The wind from the northeast, 3 miles an hour, as we mentioned. Pressure reading is 30.02 with a pressure study. So it's cloudy in the Twin Cities. Temperature now at 72 degrees. And about 6 o'clock this morning, we picked up some showers north of us, moving almost directly east into northwestern Wisconsin. At that time, early morning, between 6 and 7, they were very light showers, and then starting to show some showers just to the west of us, of Granite Falls and Redwood Falls, and moving almost directly to the east. And now there's been quite a gathering of showers and thunderstorms between Pine City and Grantsburg, Wisconsin. In that area, rain has just sort of hung in there in the St. Croix Valley over the last few hours. And a very slow movement to the south at about 5 miles an hour. Also, the showers to the west of us are moving to the south at 5 to 10 miles an hour, mostly along a cold front that cuts in between St. Cloud and the metro area. So temperatures are cooler to the northwest of us, up in northwestern Minnesota, and in the low 70s over the southeastern part of the state. There's been some rain in South Dakota, too. Yankton had some heavy rain earlier today, with the heavy showers from Nebraska on down to the northeastern part of Mississippi. Fayetteville, Arkansas, an inch of rain this morning, an inch of rain at Joplin, Missouri, half inch of rain at Fort Smith, Arkansas. So we've got a chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Early morning temperatures, quite a display here, some 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s over southwestern Iowa. In the metro area, our minimum temperature has been 55 degrees, and the coolest temperature this morning was out at Gunnison, Colorado. Temperatures there in the low 20s. We'll be in the 70s today, all along from Casper, just on the other side of that cold front, through the metro area to Buffalo, New York. Atlanta, 81 for the afternoon, and Phoenix, 95. The main producer here of moisture and unstable conditions is a low-pressure center to the south of us in Oklahoma, to be exact. Forecast for the afternoon, cloudy, chance of showers and thunderstorms, 72 in the low 70s this afternoon. Variable winds, chance of showers early evening and then clearing, 50 for the minimum temperature. Tomorrow, mostly sunny again, and 72 for the high, so the Canadas will be out running around the neighborhood, I'm sure, displaying the goslings.
Okay. A return from mental illness. That's the subject of our special report, and that's coming up next.
Okay, now. It's too short. A couple more.
The Target White Sale is on. 3-piece twin sheet sets from J.P. Stevens, only $5.99. Matching comforters, any size, $19.99.
Nice.
Full queen and king sets in 4 patterns on sale, too.
They're coming. Tie it yourself.
But hurry, price is only good through Saturday. The Target White Sale. Don't be caught short.
I'm watching my shape, I probably always win. But just because I'm dieting, must eating lose its thrill? Not on your life, Buster. 'Cause now there's Weight Watchers, bologna and hot dogs. Weight Watchers, salami and ham. Tastes so good, you really gotta try it. No one puts delicious in a diet like Weight Watchers can.
Weight Watchers meats, all less than 100 calories a serving, all 100% delicious.
No one puts delicious in a diet like Weight Watchers can.
This is an AT&T credit card. This is the MCI card. They're both free. They're both good for calling all the same places across the state and across the country. From any push-button tone phone, coast to coast. Can you tell the difference? It takes a while. About 30 days when you get the bill. And then you notice that MCI can save you a lot of money over AT&T.
Call MCI. Join all the others who are enjoying MCI savings while they travel with the MCI card.
For the past week and a half on our Project Mental Health Reports, we've met some people who say they'll probably be mentally ill for the rest of their lives.
But, Tony, people can recover from mental illness, and today, a look at one man who suffered and then made it back.
I have retained copies of these documents.
That Stuart Webb is a successful Minneapolis attorney should not be a surprise. His life began with so much promise. Editor of the Law Review at Iowa, and Edina home, a happy family. But that was just image. The real Stuart Webb was in turmoil, always trying to please everyone. By 1971, he realized that the act was over, and there was hell in Edina.
I was, I think, 5th grade and going to school on an average morning, and here's your father in the living room with the volume on high without any clothes on.
He thought he was Jesus, and he was having the Last Supper. He had them all listed, who they were, lawyer friends of ours, and people we went around with. And those were the apostles, and he was Jesus, and I was to bring wine and serve cheese and crackers.
I was like, not Christ, but Christ's successor, because Christ screwed up and got himself killed. And so that wasn't in the plan. And so now someone else had to come back and make the world work. And that was my job.
He was so hyper that he would just continually be on the move, upstairs, downstairs, all around, walking and thinking and just working through his mind.
So an ambulance took me to St. Mary's Hospital. For some reason, I took off all my clothes in the elevator, like fresh start or whatever, you know, and here I come to the 8th floor of St. Mary's, and the doors open, and I'm expecting to greet my disciples, and here are these big orderlies there, and I think they're going to embrace me, and they grab me and give me a shot in the rear end and throw me in one of the rooms that has the padded walls. And
it's awful to see anybody there. Because he had been leading a productive life, and I just felt that this was an awful thing that was happening to him and to us.
Wasn't there a point when you were pacing and you couldn't sleep and you thought you were Jesus, that deep down inside you said, there's something wrong, I think I'm going crazy?
Oh, no, there's nothing, there's no thoughts like that. It's so real. Did not think I was going crazy.
For the next decade, Stuart Webb was in the grip of manic depression. Highs for 6 weeks, lows for 6 months, 9 hospitalizations, a divorce, a law partnership dissolved, thoughts of suicide. But through it all, thoughts also of making it back.
I wouldn't go to work. I'd sit there drinking, smoking, and watching the game shows. And finally, I saw that. It was like I was behind me with a camera. And I saw, geez, what a life.
Getting better was a marathon of experiments. He would read about mental illness, go to workshops, go back to the hospital again, come out, read something else, and go to another workshop.
It's like taking the freight elevator up to the sky. I'd stop at each floor, and I'd get out and say, oh, man, this is great, this is it. And then I'd realize, well, that isn't it really. So, and this is good, and that's good. We have always been trained that the answers are in figuring it out. The answers are not in figuring it out. The answers are into just staying quiet and with good feelings, and then the answers start coming.
After years of resisting, he began taking lithium, a drug to control his behavior. With the doctor's approval, he stopped taking it after 3 years.
Was there a point, Stu, when you said, I think I'm well? I think I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, there was a time when I came to I was uptown and I was on the way to the courthouse, and I was crossing 6th Street, and I was feeling a little anxious. And as I stepped up on the curb here, I had the feeling like right here was just the abyss of darkness and depression, and I was right on the edge of it looking down, and I had the feeling like I could choose one step and I'd be in it, and it was like I chose not to do that and just took one look and just kept walking and dropped it, and that was the last time I ever was depressed.
2 years ago, Stuart Webb remarried.
Are there ever times that you worry that perhaps Stuart will have a reoccurrence or another episode? When he told me, you were going to come here and interview and probably ask me what's it like to live with a crazy person, we laugh about it. No, I don't. I don't really think about it.
No one ever held out a possibility that I would recover, ever. It was never held out by the therapeutic community. There's a lot of people who have just given up because they didn't know, and they maybe don't still know, that there's hope. You don't ever want to take away from a person the hope of recovery.
Stuart Webb says a book called Sanity, Insanity, and Common Sense by E.M. Suarez and Roger Mills was very useful. Tonight at 7 p.m., Pat Miles and Don Shelby will host a live in-studio program on depression here on Channel 4. Trained staff members continue to monitor the Project Mental Health Hotline. If you need crisis counseling, referrals, or would like to volunteer, call 339-7033.
And Tony Parker is standing by live with the latest on who's joining the Minnesota Vikings and who's not. That's coming up next.
Let's see, what do I want to eat this week? Something light. Something healthy.
Vandecamp's new light fillets.
But it's got to taste great.
They taste remarkably fresh because they're frozen fresh, and they're lightly breaded, so each thick fillet has less than 300 calories.
Oh, I'm gonna need a lot more lemons.
Vandecamp's, the freshest ideas in frozen fish.
Hunting for a way to control foxtails and other problem grasses? Get new Fusilade 2000, the total solution for grass control. Volunteer corn and other grasses, volunteering to wreck your yields? Get new Fusilade 2000, the total solution for grass control.
Start losing weight fast and easy. Join Weight Watchers now for only $10. You'll love our new improved Quick Start plan. Call Weight Watchers now.
Summertime is white linen time. Estee Lauder's white linen.
The crisp, refreshing fragrance to live in all year long. Estee Lauder's White Linen, now at Dayton's Cosmetics.
We now rejoin Tony Parker live at the Metrodome for the latest on Minnesota's picks in the NFL draft. Tony?
Well, Tony, we're midway through the second round of this 12-round draft of the National Football League. 28 teams will each get a man in each round unless they've traded them away. Now, the Vikings' choices today in those first two rounds. They traded flip-flop choices with Atlanta in that first round. As a result, the Vikings picked fourth, and they picked the linebacker Chris Dolman from Pittsburgh University. They had apparently wanted Bill Kraehling, the offensive tackle that Atlanta took, but Kraehling and his agent both indicated very strongly they'd rather play elsewhere, and I think that had something to do with the flip-flop there. In the second round, the Vikings, I think another surprise, got a cornerback, Isaac Holt. He's 6'1", from Alcorn State, and they say nimble and quick, but there's some question about a knee problem that's possible with Holt. At any rate, we've asked the man who's the senior man on the defense over there with the Vikings, safety Tommy Hannon, to come in and talk to us. Tommy, when you guys, the players I'm talking about now, sit around and look at the draft, are you looking for help in your department, or are you saying, hey, take somebody from someplace else, I want my job to be secure? How do you feel about the choices?
Well, I feel pretty good about them. I guess the talk was we needed a big linebacker and some defensive backs and offensive help. But I think they made a good choice. I've heard a lot about this big linebacker from Pitt, and I heard he's a pretty good athlete. And as far as the defensive back, I really don't know a whole lot about him, but I would say if they draft him in the second round, he must be a pretty good ball player.
Let me ask you this question, Tommy. Going into a draft, there's so much speculation about who the Vikings need. They need this, they need that. Does that affect you guys, how you think? What do you think the real needs are? Is it just healthy bodies of guys who've been playing as much as new guys, or what?
Well, I think it's a little bit of everything. You need older guys, you need younger guys, you need new blood, you need old blood. I think you need a mixture, a little bit of everything. I think that's what they're striving for. They're trying to get some young blood in here, and I think they're going to try to keep some old blood in here, too. I think that creates for, a great ball club. And I think hopefully if we have a good draft, and we got 2 good draft picks so far, hopefully we're heading in the right direction.
Okay, you guys got 5 picks out of the first 38. It should be some help. Tommy, good luck. Thanks for talking to us.
Oh, thank you very much.
You bet. That's the story from here at the moment, Tony.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tony. And on that note, we'd like to thank you for joining us today at noon, and we hope to see you tomorrow.
Have a good afternoon.
A Channel 4 editorial on more support for the mentally ill with Ron Handberg.
There's a lot of talk here at the Capitol about how to control government spending and cut taxes, and that's good. What you don't hear much about is how some of those so-called savings end up costing us more in the long run, and that's bad. One example concerns the mentally ill. The cost of keeping a mental patient at a state hospital for an average stay is $18,000. It costs 5 times less, or only about $3,000, for the same person to live in the community while learning to become self-sufficient. When counties participate in such community support programs, psychiatric hospitalizations are nearly cut in half. But of Minnesota's 87 counties, only 35 are funded to help recovering mental patients, and the legislature flatly refuses to expand the support program to even a handful of additional counties. It may be too late to reverse this example of false economy, but there's still time to avoid making yet another mistake. We think the legislature should allow persons recovering from mental illness and living in halfway houses to bank up to $1,000 in job earnings. Under present law, any wages in excess of $50 a month must be turned over to the welfare department. As a result, persons motivated to move out of a halfway house can't afford to set up their own apartment. So they stay where they are at a higher cost to the taxpayer. Channel 4's Project Mental Health is showing us the courage needed to overcome mental illness. Here's a chance to provide an incentive to people we have too long ignored and to achieve some real tax savings as well. I'm Ron Handberg.
We offer equal time for an opposing view.
Imagine delicious whipped topping that comes in its own unique decorator bag. Riches introduces the incredible dessert decorator. We build the decorator tip right in, so you can make pies perkier, puddings prettier, sundaes swirlier, cakes classier, and gelatin jollier. Add great taste, fun, and flair to any dessert. Try Rich's Whipped Topping, the incredible dessert decorator, now in your grocer's freezer.
AT&T says they can save you 40% if you call after 5 p.m. MCI can save you more than that.